everybody for coming to our Remsenberg Academy Chair of Hope Project opening. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about how this started. We were frustrated because of all of this senseless gun violence throughout our country, and we felt trapped and helpless, and we really felt compelled to do something. Hence these beautiful chairs. We thought, why can't we can do something in our own backyard to raise awareness and come together as a community to do something. We can change the way this gun violence is affecting and taking lives. Just this year alone, in 2023, over 11,500 lives have been lost to gun violence. It's not May 1st. That's senseless in any capacity. So today, we are so happy that you are all here with us. We have a lot of these incredible artists that were so moved to paint their own chair and have their own inspiration about why they painted the chair they did. So this exhibit specifically represents all of the lives lost at Uvalde, Texas, the 19 children that will never sit in a chair like this again, and their 2 teachers. There's been so many other lives lost by gun violence, and we are not just talking about school or mass shootings, we're talking about random shootings and suicides and more. We are here today to find a solution, to work together, to inspire you. And so first, I would like to welcome Vanessa Winters to lead us in a prayer. And we have a really beautiful program, so just stay tuned and be inspired. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Vanessa Winters. I'm currently serving at the West Hampton Presbyterian Church, and I'm honored to be here with you all. We hear often in these types of situations about thoughts and prayers, and as a, I think, pretty decent expert on prayer, even though we pray together this evening, we remember that much more than just thoughts and prayers are needed. Action, movements, gatherings like this one are essential as well. So with that spirit, let us be in the spirit of prayer together. God, we come to you heavy-hearted. We hear the cries of the slain who call to us from the ground. We come to remember all the lives that have been lost to weapons that have flooded our communities. We are reminded of many bodies locked in jails and prisons all across this country. Although we find ourselves in a broken world in which hurting people hurt other people, it is no mystery that you are a God capable of healing our world through justice and fairness. You've shown us that you stand firmly with those whose backs are against the wall. And we ask for this same redemptive power to be unleashed amongst us. May we be empowered to reverse the conditions that produce young men and women who are driven to resort to violence and destructive behavior in their fight to stay alive and struggle to remain free. We know you have no pleasure in the death of anyone. So we come today seeking wisdom as we create strategies that provide pathways and lifelines to hope and healing. Help us remember we are all your children created in your image. We are connected by a single garment of mutuality and destiny. Cause us to never forget how our needs are the same, and our calling to address these needs are the same. Reveal to us that the pain felt in Newtown is the same pain felt in Chicago. The tears shed in Oak Creek are the same tears shed in Oakland. The lives lost in Tucson are the same lives lost in Camden. The children buried in Aurora are the same children being buried in Detroit. We cry out to you from this scourge of violence. Endow us with the courage to step down from the pulpits and out from behind our desks to seek the peace of the city. In the coming days and weeks, as our leaders continue to debate solutions, we ask that you grant us the voice to speak truth, power, and demonstrate sacrificial compassion to the hurting. Teach us your ways. Bless us with the wisdom and strength to put down our swords and be peacemakers. Use us, work through us, and if necessary, work in spite of us to mend our nation and our world's brokenness. We thank you for your protecting embrace and unfailing love. And all of these requests we bring to you. Amen.
As we remember all of the lives lost to gun violence, we're going to have Eamon Coble play a little bit of Danny Boy. Jackie Hilley, who is the former executive director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, to talk to us. Again, there's so much information over on this table over here we have Moms Demand Action and information from every town. And again, we are gonna have some amazing speakers. And Jackie is also like an incredible wealth of knowledge and support and education and activism. Thank you.
So the first thing I'd like to say is thank you for coming out tonight and being here with us. It's really important for everybody to get involved in making sure that we don't live through another decade and another few years like we've just experienced. We really all have to take it in our own power and try to change things. And we're here to honor and respect all the people who have died by gun violence in our country, which, as you all know, is just a horrific number of people. We want to comfort the loved ones of everyone who's here and all the loved ones of the people who are all around our country in various places and who have suffered this loss. They're the people who are going to sit at holiday tables for the rest of their lives and miss their loved ones, and they're the people who are living everyday lives that are like sentences of death for them. My organization is called New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, and we, like a lot of other organizations, were started by survivors and people who were victims. 3 women in Brooklyn found out that their children's favorite teacher had been shot down in Prospect Park in daylight, and they were so bereft that they started thinking, what are the gun laws in New York? So that was 30 years ago. And since then, we've really dramatically improved the gun laws in New York State to the point where we are one of the safest states in the country with one of the lowest rates of gun violence. Every state has a different proportion. I once did a public health report for New Yorkers Against Gun Violence. And for example, in the state of, I reviewed about 15 different states and the public policies and the public hospitals and how they dealt with the community. And the state of Maine, for example, that year, which was the year 2001, had 108 deaths from gun violence, and 105 of them were suicides. So in New York State, we're about half of the people who are killed by guns are killed in criminal acts and homicides. And so you have to get to know your own state to really know how your advocacy should proceed. I could go on for a long, long time about different things because I've been involved for so many years and been involved with organizations like the Brady Campaign and Every Town for Gun Safety and Mayors Against Illegal Guns. But I thought I would keep it sort of confined tonight to talk to you about actions that you could take. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is thinking about them as the ABCs of what you can do. So the first thing is, you can ask if there's a gun where your children play. It seems like a simple thing, but if you consider the following, I'll give you some statistics. Gun violence, as you know now, is the leading cause of death among America's children. And in addition to that, there are 4.6 million children in our country who live in households where there are loaded and unlocked guns. So you may be uncomfortable asking about if there are guns, but if you start to ask, you would be amazed at the people who have guns that you never thought. I was sitting in my suburban neighborhood in Mamaroneck talking to my next door neighbor, and he said, what's keeping you busy these days, Jackie? And I said, well, I'm working for New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, and I'm doing different work on trying to make sensible gun laws. And he said, I have 100 guns in my house. And I was like, oh my God. I said, I hope nobody breaks into your house. I was shocked. So you never know until you start asking. You don't want your child to be in a home where there's an unlocked and unloaded gun, and you may even decide not to want your family to be in a home where there's a gun at all. Because I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years whose children, most of them sons, were friends with somebody who was given a rifle by their father, and then the kids started fooling around with it, and those children are dead. So don't be afraid to ask. The second ask, I would say, it's important to know the law in New York State allows for categories of people. They're police officers, they're health people, they're family members, and educators who have some knowledge or have been informed about the fact that people are talking about guns or doing something with their guns, or they're writing on Facebook, or they're doing something else. So the New York State has a red flag law, which you've probably heard about, and that enables somebody in that category who's been informed or observed to go before a judge and ask that the guns be preemptively removed so that they're out of the house and away from the person who's at risk of either harming themselves or others. And there's a hearing that's held where the judge speaks to the people who proffered that thought and that evidence. And the judge then takes the guns away for, I think it's 60 days, and then another hearing must be held. And eventually, if a person is found unfit, even if they had a license in New York State, which we have licensing, that's another good thing we have, the judge will take it away permanently if they find that person is likely to be a danger to themselves or others. So those are the two things that you can do under the category that I've described as A. The second is, I was thinking, we have to ban the weapons of war that are in our communities, and we have to ban assault weapons, and we also have to ban the large capacity magazines, because if you've ever seen any of the substance of these horrible shootings, people may have mental illnesses and they may be in a bad state themselves, but they know enough to bring large capacity magazines with them. They bring, 100-pound drums. They're 100 shots. And they bring 50, and they can change them in a minute. And as you know, no child, because of the way those bullets are leaving an assault weapon, no child will survive that, because the bullets tumble inside their body. And there's nothing left to repair, basically. If you talk to doctors, there's nothing to repair in children. And adults are more than likely to die. Almost all the adults die as well. So we have weapons of war. We did a report a long time ago about what was the specific language by the government in ordering this kind of a rifle to be created. And the specific request of the government was to make a weapon that would kill as many people as fast as possible and make sure that it was lethal and that they weren't going to live. And that's exactly what we have. So that's the B part of it. The other part of it is that if somebody can stand there, whatever elected official or any person that's representing any organization can't say that you absolutely want a ban of assault weapons because they give you all kinds of different excuses. It's not the right number, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. Just throw the bums out, because honestly there's no excuse at this point for us to be dealing with these minute things. And that's what the opposition always does. It always tries to tear apart your argument, tries to mince the words, tries to change things, and you have to fight it every step of the way. So New York State actually has great gun laws, which we worked on for a really long time, from the beginning. And originally, a long time ago, we had an assault weapons ban, which frankly wasn't a good assault ban, because under Pataki we compromised, and it wasn't one that was working. So under the New York SAFE Act, which was passed 10 years ago, we passed an excellent assault weapons ban, and we also banned high-capacity magazines, more than 10 rounds. So you can look, there are lots of sites, like the Gifford Center lists every state's laws. If you ever have a question about what our law says about anything, you can go in and it lists every state laws relative to guns, and you can find every detail that you want. But the most important thing is there are larger organizations than ours, and the 26 other state organizations that really operate on a shoestring, to tell you the truth. But every town is an amazing organization, and I know you'll hear from somebody else. I know a lot of people who work there. The chair of my board went there after he left our organization, because he wanted to actually be paid and work full time. And now he's in charge of federal legislation, and he's been before Congress in a number of issues. So there's wonderful people. And I was really happy when I was doing research to talk about the most current things, that every town has come out with a new report, which is called The Economic Cost of Gun Violence. And this is what it says. At a moment when we in the United States need to marshal all of our resources to invest in education, worker skills, and building healthier, safer, and more sustainable communities, our federal, state, and local governments are spending a combined average of almost $35 million a day to deal with the aftermath of gun violence in our country. Put simply, America cannot afford gun violence. In an average year in the United States, gun violence kills 40,000 people, wounds twice as many, and has an economic consequence to our nation of $557 billion, that's with a B, dollars. Without a doubt, the human cost of gun violence, the people who are taken from us, the future doctors, the teachers, the scientists, and all their dreams, and the dreams of the children in Uvalde who just wanted to be a 5th grader next year, or the children in Newtown who just wanted to make it to the 2nd grade, or the children who live in Harlem who just wanted to go to the store to get a loaf of bread for their parents. Those dreams are gone, and we can never, ever recover those dreams. Those are the most devastating facts of gun violence. But in addition to the horrific human impact, examining the serious economic consequences of gun violence does offer us a wider lens to understand just how extensive and expensive this crisis is. This staggering figure of $557 billion is 5 times the nation's budget for the Department of Education funding from preschool through college for millions of Americans. Just think about that. If that money could be applied to productive and beneficial investments in education in our country, we would be in so much of a better place. This $557 billion problem represents a lifetime of costs for gun violence. It starts with things like the crime scene shooting, the police investigating, and the medical costs, medical treatments. And then later on, it goes to the long-term physical and mental health care that's needed for the people who have lost their loved ones, and earnings and disability or death, and the staggering costs of the criminal justice system and how much it costs for us to try all these cases. And something I should tell you is that New York State's gun laws, everybody says, why, well, we have such great gun laws, why do we have so much crime? Well, 90% of the guns that have been tested by police officers in New York City, 90% of them every year, year after year, come from gun states that have weak gun laws. And in the state, that figure is 70% of all guns that have been tested come from out of state. That doesn't include ghost guns, which are untraceable. So we have a big problem, and the ironic thing is, of course, you hear from politicians from out of state here who are talking about the crime in New York, the crime in New York, when their states are the states that are sending the guns to us because they have weak gun laws. So we have a big problem there, which is why we need a federal ban on assault weapons. We need universal background checks. We need a federal red flag law so that we can change the federal guns being allowed. And we also don't need things like concealed carry and all the stuff that the NRA is proffering. So everyone here knows that the toll of daily gun violence is staggering, and we're in a crisis of death and loss, and our fear for our children and our families has increased exponentially. We must address this crisis with action. So I wanted to ask everybody here to pledge to themselves and to their family to take some action after tonight. And one of the things that we can do is we can vote, and vote in elected officials who are going to support sensible, moderate gun laws and get rid of assault weapons. And one of the things I brought with me, because I do other things also, and these are all voter registration things that you can pick up, and this QR code returns to a national registration site where you can register in all 50 states, so there's a lot of them back there on that table, so please help yourself. Take them and give them to your friends, anybody who's graduating. New York, you can pre-register to vote when you're 16, and then you're automatically enrolled. And every year, just to know how important a contribution this could be, is every year 4 million people in the United States turn 18. So we can really turn the tide on the people who are not supporting sensible gun laws. So the other thing I wanted to tell you, just as a point of interest in case anybody has the problem, because my nephew had a problem recently where his father passed away and he found guns in each one of the homes, and he was asking me what to do. The Attorney General is running all around the state in 10 different locations a buyback program next weekend, a week from today, and it's a no questions asked buyback program. So if you know anybody who has that problem for one reason or another, it doesn't have to be operable. They can just bring it in, and we can get guns off the street. So thank you for coming. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
But they know laughter and the sensation of being in their mother's arms. Guns don't know life, but they know how to take them. They don't know what rights are, but they know how to have them. Better than we do. When the preference of a weapon outshines the light of a child's symphony, it's time for all laws to become history. Because guns don't die, people do. So all that's left to say is, what is wrong with you? Why is this even a question? How many others need to be lost before we end this possession? Do you remember playing cops and robbers? How ingrained in our culture it is to play with death? That by the time some children hit grade school, they have taken their last breaths. It's a lot easier to accept when fingers are triggers and only sounds are what's made of copper. But bullets are real. Even there's only one in the revolver. At that age, only your imagination manages to pierce through skin, when the object of the game was to live. Our lives have become a game, and living is what we get if we win. Playtime is officially over. This is a matter of adults, myself and every child standing to inherit this country stands in revolt. Death doesn't discriminate against age or gender or race. Death just takes. It's not a whispered threat. Why are we still sitting here playing Russian roulette, waiting for the next person to fall? It's shouting, it's warning us to get out of the way. It's a threat we've seen from miles and miles away. Now something went really wrong at some point, and maybe I am too much of a liberal or an optimist, as some like to say, but I believe your right to own a gun is hindered by my right not to be shot by one. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Tina Folks, local artist. I live in Patchogue. I grew up out here. I grew up in Remsenberg. And
I'm Charlie Wildbank, and I come from the North Fork in Jamesport. I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn and then Yale University for a fellowship. And I decided to become a teacher for a few years. And I taught the deaf for 7 years in Canada and in New York City.
wow.
And then I decided to retire and go back to painting. And I heard about the Chair of Hope project through Naomi. And I got very involved, very interested, and each of us were given a chair, a very tiny chair from a schoolhouse to paint on. So we painted our expression on each chair, and you can see them today.
I've just always stayed active in local community groups out here, East End Arts Council, and when this project came along, it was a wonderful opportunity to get involved in some way, and it kind of ignited my interest in trying to be proactive and to do something.
My name is Melinda Bowie. I'm an artist from Westchester, and I'm originally I was born in Texas. My mother was the principal of my high school, and when we heard of the Uvalde shootings, obviously my heart broke, and my two young boys were certainly very worried that their grandmother was somehow affected by this, and it was her school, which it wasn't, but the effect was felt, and it's been heard, and we're doing our very best to raise awareness here, and I'm very proud to be a part of this wonderful organization. And the Chairs Project, I think, is a very meaningful and beautiful way to try to raise awareness to this horrible situation. You know, at the time it was significant. It was a significant number, and there was the 21 artists that contributed. They were chairs from a schoolhouse. They were old chairs. They were donated. And we were each asked to paint something on the chair however we wanted to. I chose to paint a mother cow and her baby that was just born, which is very important to me. I grew up on a farm in East Texas, and I thought it was a beautiful way to show the bond between a mother and their kid or their offspring. And you know, you drop your kids off at school one day and you don't know you're going to get them back these days, and it's gut-wrenching. So the chairs are a really powerful installation, and we hope it really wakes people up and gets the awareness out there that we've got to make big changes in this world.
Now I'd like to invite up Shanae Johnson. She is the executive director of the Kendrick Alley Moreau Jr. Foundation. She is a volunteer with Moms Demand Action and an Everytown Senior Survivor Fellow. And she's going to tell you her story.
Thank you. My name is Shanae Johnson. Thank you for having me here today. You know, it's unfortunate you have to have something like this. Thank you for inviting me out. Moms Demand Action, I've been a long time Moms Demand Action volunteer for many years. I have the Kendrick Ali Morrow Jr. Foundation, which was founded after my son Kendrick Ali Morrow Jr. was killed at the tender age of 17 years old. He was killed a few weeks just before he was to enter college, a few weeks before he was graduating high school. He had an academic scholarship to St. John's University. Can you hear me?
Right in there. Talk right in there.
My survivor sons, two of them, Malik, who's holding the camera. Thank you, Malik. And my other son, Yassine Johnson, who's around. He's over there in the background. But the point is, and I'm not going to be a conventional speaker because what's happening is not conventional. This has to stop. Just a few days ago, a young man was killed, only 15 years old, in Calverton, and I attended his funeral yesterday. And I'm looking at the young people here today, and it's unfortunate on a Saturday afternoon, you would probably want to be at the playground, roller rink, having fun, but it's unfortunate that you have to be here to over and over again in this country, reminding our lawmakers that we want to save the lives of our children, that this gun violence must stop. I had 4 children, now I have 3. Kendrick was going to be a successful young man, and the everyday gun violence that happens every day in this country is not being addressed. It may not be a mass shooting, but it's a mass shooting monthly, if you understand what I mean. There are more than 110 people a day killed, shot, and aimed in this country. This madness has to stop. And you know what else you do not see? You do not see the trauma that the families live with for the rest of their life. I now have a 19-year-old son who's always saying, "Mom, get off my neck. Please leave me alone. I'm going to be fine." But he just doesn't understand how much I worry. All of my children say that, how much I worry about them. I mean, going to school, children are being murdered by doing the very thing that they're supposed to do. So we have to do more. I'm not talking to the people who are here. And I thank God that you all showed up. It's the people out there, it's our neighbors, it's the people we go to church with. And sometimes I feel that we feel activism is so far away from us. No, that's not what it is. It's caring about your neighbor. Taking it back to the days of the village. I remember as a child, when I was down the block doing something that I was not supposed to be doing, my mother already knew. And I didn't understand, they didn't have cell phones, right? They didn't have cell phones. I mean, think about the community. That was community in which we had. We were together. And that's what it's going to take to continue for this to stop. It has to stop. I'm so tired of reading the headlines. We're becoming desensitized. How many mass shootings have there been?
Over 11,500 this year alone, 2023.
So something is wrong with America. If the lawmakers are refusing to vote the right way, something is wrong with this picture. And God forbid, I do not want that to happen to your family. It's not easy to be me. Advocacy is my therapy. When I buried my child, it was the worst night of my life. I never thought. I was a housewife, living in Queens, married, raising my children. Gun violence literally destroyed my family. And if it's destroying mine or destroyed, how many countless others does it destroy? Think about the after effect that it has, the trauma that it has on the children, the trauma that our children are even going to school. When I see those texts, lockdown, that's not normal. That's not, think about it, that is not a normal occurrence. We should not live like this. And I'm going to stay on the front line. I've given my children a break. I don't make them come with me all the time. But, you know, today they came to support me because I want them to live their lives. My beautiful son, Malik, he's on track. He plays basketball. He gets good grades in school. My kids are doing well. Yassine is doing well in school. And thank God they got a mother like me, you know. Because counseling, because counseling is no longer a thing of the past, you know. So counseling is important. Talking about the things that we've been through are important, and expressing ourselves. So along with the village, today we are no longer hiding things and keeping things in the house how we used to, you know. And so we're speaking about it, being very upfront. I talk to my children about it, what's happening in school. Not all black children are in gangs. Not all black children. I remember when Kedrick was killed in 2010, the climate was different about gun violence. It was like, that's something that happens in the ghettos of America, or in the hood, or only in the black and Hispanic communities. And so that was the thing people were asking me. They said, well, was he in a gang? And I'll be very offended, because Kedrick was a high achieving student on the honor roll, and his life was taken. He went to a graduation party with a few friends. Some older people came into the party. He grabbed his friends out of the party, 2 girls he took around the corner, and he realized that one of his very best friends was not with them. So he told the girls, he said, I have to go back and get my friend. So when Kedrick went back to go get his friend, he didn't make it. So I consider him dying a hero, because he didn't think of himself, he thought of others. And for the young ladies and the young man lives that he saved, I don't know, had it been the other way around, if Kedrick would have been able to live with himself. He wanted to be a doctor. He was always a very caring kid. When we learned about the fees that it does to become a doctor, we found out about the Sophie Davis program. And one of those requirements was that you serve in the underserved community. He said, Mom, that's something I want to do. So with the Kedrick Ali Mar Jr. Foundation, we work with young people in marginalized communities. We have basketball teams. We're getting ready to start our chess club, and just doing different things to work with our young people, because so many people showed up for that young man yesterday. And my question to you is, how many people are showing up for our children who are living? How many people? If we can get in front of it, and that's why I like the prevention measures. Of course, I love the legislation. I love, the common sense gun laws. But what I see in the black and brown communities every day, we need more than just that. And so we're here right in the community in Mauritius on the east end of Long Island, and we're going to continue to do the work. Also, I work with the Long Island Breakthrough Center in Quorum. We're doing a basketball clinic twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Partnered with the PAL at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But thank you all for showing up here today. Let's keep showing up just as much. I mean, I pray to God every day when you look at the news, it's like again. And then for us, I meet another mother, I meet another father, the everyday gun violence that, I mean, I didn't even see any news coverage of that young man yesterday. You know, it was like, it's such a regular occurrence, and that has to stop. The action item, usually with Moms Demand Action, we tell you to text. It changes often, right? 64433. Join.
Text
Ready to 64433. New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, where are they? Hi. I've worked with New Yorkers Against Gun Violence for many years too. And I want to say that we're all together. For Wear Orange in June, we're doing a big basketball tournament for adults and kids. I know everybody don't play basketball, but this is a way for us to come together and really get to know one another and have a friendly competition. So thank you for listening to my story.
You know, when we did our first exhibit, that launched the first time we brought the Chair of Hope exhibit out, it was in Amagansett last August. I was looking for inspiration, which I didn't find. Well, I found a lot of inspiration and a lot of people, you know, talking out and doing things and writing poems and music. And I came across this poem by a woman by the name of Haley Chase called "If I Die in a School Shooting." And let me tell you, I looked for Haley for about 4 months. I still don't know where she is. I'm like, Haley, please, we'll fly you in, come. Anyway, we have 4 students who are going to read this poem for you.
If I die in a school shooting, politicize my death, fight for our safety, turn my funeral into a protest.
If I die in a school shooting, I will never play sports again. My goals, my hopes, my dreams will all come to an end.
If I die in a school shooting, battle until students and teachers are safe. Don't let my death become a statistic. Help kids go to school unafraid.
If I die in a school shooting, I will never become a doctor. I will never graduate high school, and my parents will no longer have a daughter.
If I die in a school shooting, my little brother will become an only child. Fight for all the lost lives and make change be required.
If I die in a school shooting, turn my ashes into a book and write the story of how my life should have looked.
If I die in a school shooting, deliver my heart to the NRA, because those people are heartless, and I was a child they could have saved.
If I die in a school shooting, my family will be in pain. Give them a hug and turn the hurt into change.
If I die in a school shooting, please let me be the last.
Can't imagine a world without you. If you left, I'd be bruised, black and blue. Irreplaceable you are to me. I'd be lost without your company. Time is passing as fast as ever. When I'm dreaming, we're still together. I hear your voice on every harmony. It's the note that leads you back to me. And I know we're young and I know we're scared, but I'm trying. And I know we're young, I know we're scared, I'm still trying. And I know we're young and I know we're scared, but I'm trying. And I know we're young and I know we're scared, but I'm trying. Into the blue. That's where you'll find me. And I'll find you too. There'll never be a world without you. Now everything has turned to yellow. Irreplaceable you are to me. I'll never be without your company. And I know we're young and I know we're scared, but I'm trying. And I know we're young, I know we're scared, I'm still trying.